Hello, friends. So we've had a great St. Andrew's Day here in the Casa de Ritter-Guth, and I celebrated. I didn't party; I had to teach, so I celebrated my own little way with these amazing cookies. So if you live in Scotland and you want to go and send BRG a Christmas present, these cookies are like so amazing. And then I also had mince pies. Can only eat like one of them at a time, but they're so delicious. Also, mince pies do not have meat in them. They used to, but they don't anymore. They're fruit pies, but they're delicious. So, let's talk about 5 ways that you can celebrate Scottish Christmas here in the US. Number 5, you have to know the history of Christmas in Scotland. And that's a way of celebrating it is by understanding that Christmas was not a thing in Scotland until the late 1950s. Why? Why was Christmas not a thing? Well, it used to be a thing. Yule, or winter solstice, used to be a thing way back. And then Christmas was a feast day. And then one of the Scottish kirks got a knot in his knickers, and he didn't like the Roman Catholic Church. So the Scottish Parliament, banned Christmas in 1640. And it was punishable by law to celebrate what was called a Yuletide. It was called the Yule something, like a Yule celebration, right? So you couldn't celebrate Christmas. So all of the energy moved to Hogmanay, which is Scottish New Year. And I'll do a separate video about that because there's lots of traditions associated with that. So I have friends, some piping friends, and my friend Peter, whose father, when he came to the States, I don't know what year he came, like in the 70s or something, he like did not get the American like understanding of like all the hoopla over Christmas because they just simply didn't do that when he was growing up. It wasn't a thing. And I think they went to Canada first and then came down through the States. But like, Americans are over the top about a lot of things, St. Patrick's Day being one of them. But like he really didn't get like the whole big deal about American Christmas. And so number 5 is just know the history that Christmas is a feast day now, it's a bank holiday now, but it hasn't been for that long a time. So that's something to know. You might have heard of some other things that we do that actually tie back to pagan traditions that would have been celebrated by the ancient Celts, and one of them is the Christmas tree. So, number 4 is the evergreen tree. Now, our ancient Celtic friends did not go cutting down trees and sticking them in their house. They actually decorated them outside, and they would decorate them with things like candles. And how they didn't burn down Scotland, I have no idea. But they would also put on things like bird seed, like bird things that birds would eat, not bird seed like commercial bird seed like we have, but not like peanut butter like we have, but they would put trinkets and things on trees on the outside to appease the fairy world and to feed the winter animals like squirrels and things like that. So the evergreen tree comes from that. Third way is the Yule log. You're like, what is the Yule log? Well, let me tell you a story about the Yule log. When I was a little girl, we would always go over to my mom's best friend's house, and they would all drink downstairs, and they wanted to get rid of the little kids. So they would convince me every year, because I'm a little daft, they would convince me to go and sit and watch the TV Yule log and then report if anything changed. And I fell for that for a few years. Still a little bitter. So the Yule log, what is that? Well, it's a log that you burn, a big log. Bigger logs take a while to burn, right? So you take a piece of last year's log to start off the New Year's, this year's log, and you burn that, and you burn it for the festival of winter solstice or Yule or Christmas. And remember that in the eightfold wheel, all of the holidays that we celebrate, they aren't just one day. They're usually 3-day festivals. So that log would burn for 3 days, and then you would save a piece of that log to start next year's fire. So if you want to do something like that, you can have, the Yule logs. There's tons of, YouTube Yule logs that you can watch and fires and stuff that you can watch. You can do it that way, and it can be more symbolic if you live in an apartment or something like where you can't actually have a fire. I don't do a Yule log because I don't want to sit in my yard for 3 days and watch it. So I actually don't do that. I do ancestral candles instead. So we have a tree out front. It's actually a butterfly bush, and I call it my fairy pond. And we have lights on that, so we put new lights on it every year. And then I hang ornaments with the names of all of my family and friends who have passed on. and that's out front. And then I like candles, ancestral candles, to remember those who've passed on into rest and quietness. So I do that instead of the Yule log. But that's number three. Number four, I don't know if I'm going backwards or forwards, but whatever. The fourth thing that you can do to celebrate Scottish Christmas is to eat lots of good food. So what is good Scottish food? Well, haggis, that's the thing that everybody thinks of. Interestingly enough, you cannot get real haggis in the United States, in the home of the free and the brave. You have to have the Americanized version of it. So if you want proper haggis, you actually have to go to Scotland to get it, because it is outlawed here. Another thing I think is interesting is that in Scotland, they allow people to use torches. They use them on St. Andrew's Day and the parades that they do. They use them on Hogmanay, which is a fire festival, and they go through the streets with torches. I want to go through torches, but you can't because it's against the law. So interesting, interesting, interesting. If any Scottish friends want to invite me over for any of these holidays, I'm all about carrying a torch. But food, we're talking about food. So, you have to think about the things that are available in the winter time. So, haggis is just one thing, but there's all kinds of other things. There's neeps and tatties. There's a big Scottish breakfast that you have. The Irish also have a very big breakfast with different kinds of bacon and salted meats and things like that, and potatoes and bangers and mash. You might have heard of that, which is a sausage and mashed potatoes. Champ, which is a mashed potato dish also with cabbage in it, and the Irish have a similar Colcannon, which is a similar dish, and pretty much like eat and drink whiskey. Like, this is what you do. So we're not big drinkers in my house. We're occasional drinkers, but we do on every holiday actually do an ancestor shot. Now I always shoot whiskey. I use Macallan's. That's like my favorite. That's actually Scotch, and that's what I prefer. This is the first year that we actually took requests. So some people did bourbon, some people did vodka, some people did other whiskey, Jameson, and then I did Scotch. One person did brandy, and one person did Coke. So and really the prayer that I always say, or the toast that I always say, is, bless all those who came before us, bless all those who come ahead of us, and then bless all with whom we stand. And honoring our ancestors, honoring the people who will come generations after us, and then honoring all the people with whom we stand today. So that's another fun tradition. And then the last thing is just to honor each other by thinking of all the things that you want, the blessings that you want to come in for other people. So you can do, some people will write down the blessings, and in Hogmanay you get rid of all the damage from the old year, right? So that we do a whole thing with the fire at Hogmanay. But for Christmas time, it's really, you want to bless people with the gifts of spirit. So joy, light, and love, right? These are things you cannot buy. So you write a blessing down for each person, and then you can put it in a little cauldron. If you don't have access to a fire pit, I put ours in our fire pit, but like a specific blessing, not just like good health or, like that general stuff. People, you want to be really, really specific. So, if you have a friend who has cancer, you might, write her name down and say, I really hope that Helen, her chemo treatments are effective and really help to heal the cancer. So you want to be real specific, and then you wrap that little blessing up, and then you burn it and you send it out into the world. So that's another thing that you can do. So remember that Scotland hasn't had Christmas for a very long time, and that's important, and that New Year's is actually the bigger holiday there. And there are places in Scotland that still don't celebrate Christmas, to the American extent of celebrating Christmas. You want to maybe have a fire and do the Yule log, that tradition of the Yule log. You want to eat and be merry. You want to give specific blessings to your friends, right? And I'm sure I missed a whole other host of things that you can do. Mistletoe is comes from the Druids. Mistletoe is our sacred plant coming from so we use it as a kissing thing. You stand under it and you kiss somebody. I would be horrified, actually, if anybody came up and did that to me. Um, I think I would pass out and run away. But I do keep mistletoe at my front door and my back door to bless the space. And the other thing is, we don't have rowan trees here in the States. We have a mountain ash tree that's similar, but you can burn rowan wood, rowan twigs or whatever. You can burn them, or they smell delightful, at your doors, to bless the spaces, the entrance ways and the exit ways. You can burn, and you can also make different things. There's like a little bell that you can make. It's like a wreath. These are all pagan things that we have adopted in our Christian tradition. But the little wreath that you put, you can make that out of rowan or mountain ash, and then you put bells on it, and you put those around your door handles, front and back door. So if you ever come to my house, you'll see that my back door, where the hikers come in and out, has bells on it. And one of it's so that I know that they're coming in, because I sleep on my couch, so that I know they're using the bathroom. But also it's to ward off bad spirits. So there are all kinds of things that you can do to celebrate a Scottish Christmas or a Celtic Christmas. Music, you should totally listen to bagpipes all the time. But there are other instruments, I'm told. You can listen to all kinds of music. I actually love hymns, and I love choirs. So I spend a lot of this month listening to Christmas music. And I don't actually like secular Christmas music. I really don't like the Mariah Carey song. You can judge me all you want, but I hate that song. I don't really like that kind of music. I do like hymns and carols. I listen to lessons and carols that come out of the cathedrals in England. My mom and I always miss her when I listen to those, because she and I would just, totally geek out and listen to lesson carols like every day. So I do a lot of that during Christmas. But the biggest thing is to recognize that Christmas is about spreading light, love, through time, talent, and treasure. It's not about the stuff, right? And not to get crazy over fine details. It's we like the preparation for Christmas sometimes outweighs the day of Christmas, and then there's like this giant letdown afterwards, because you've spent so much energy preparing. Things don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have the most perfect gift wrap. I actually, because I am such a druid, you get your stuff in the packaging it came, and I might draw a smiley face on it, but I think wrapping paper is such an enormous waste of resources. So I think that's just a horrible way to such a waste. So I don't often do. I do for my kids wrapping paper, but maybe this year will be the year that I don't, since they're constantly reminding me that they're adults, so they can get their stuff in plastic reusable bags like everybody else. So anyway, I am wishing all of you all the very best in light and love as you prepare for your Celtic Christmas, or your Celtic holiday, your solstice celebration, or Yule, whatever it is you celebrate. It is a time of sharing love, and I am sharing love with all of you. Be well, all the best in light and love. Bye-bye.